Welcome to my Passover Special. And my Passover Special, I mean, we're talking about a Jewish wrestler. Have some Kaspuchnik. I don't know what Kaspuchnik is. I think it's a word I just made up. But it's Kaspuchnik. Sounds Jewish. So you're thinking, what Jewish wrestler am I going to do? I said I wasn't going to do Goldberg. So you're thinking he's going to do MJF, right? Big time Jewish wrestler nowadays. Nope, Abe Coleman. You might be wondering, who the fuck is Abe Coleman? Well, he invented the drop kick. So we're going back to the 30s to pick wrestlers now. Yes, Abe Coleman was born in Poland back when Poland was part of Russia in the late in the 1910s or 1920s, something like that. I think it was like 1915, something like that. No, it was 1905. It was 1905. He was born in Russia. He was born in Poland, which was part of Russia. Had to turn my brain on for a minute. I wish there was just a switch I could switch it on. Boom. Anyways, he was Polish and Jewish, which for those of you who know about Russia, was never a good thing. So, in the 1915s, his family came over here to New York. Now, if you look on his one biography, they say to escape the Holocaust. The Holocaust wasn't going on in the 1950s. His family actually came over to escape Russian oppression, or the oncoming onslaught of the Bolshevik Revolution, which was kind of coming at that point and was not going to be stopped, which made it even harder to be Polish and Jewish in Russia. Trust me, they treated Jews horribly in Russia because the Eastern Orthodox Church at the time said that Jews and Muslims and blacks were lesser people. Trust me, I studied Russian world history. It was horrible. So they came to New York, where he did odd jobs and worked out at a gym. In 1929, a wrestling promoter saw him at a gym and said, "I'll pay you $25, which is the equivalent of $470 today," which is just sad, to wrestle a match. And he wrestled that match to a draw. Now, Abe Coleman was 5'3", 200 to 220 pounds. He was built like Wolverine. Well, Wolverine is in the comic books. He had 18.5-inch neck and 18-inch biceps. He was built like Wolverine. And he wrestled for 30 years without major injuries. So in short, he was the real-life Wolverine. Anyways, he was so strong that during a promo, he squatted 2 people equaling 500 pounds. He created the drop kick on an Australian tour in the 1930s when he saw 2 kangaroos fighting each other. And he called it the kangaroo kick. And it was a little different than the modern drop kick. It was not MJF's kangaroo kick by any means necessary. What he'd do is he'd run off the rope and he'd jump up, and it was closer to the Claymore kick, only he'd get both feet up. So it was a little different. The modern drop kick was more created by his frequent opponent, a more agile, lightweight guy called Tony Savoldi in the 1950s. Now, Abe Coleman had a great wrestling record, but he never won a championship because he was Jewish and Slavic. Neither one of those things made you very popular in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s. In fact, both of those things made you quite unpopular in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s because Slavic people were not acknowledged as having equal rights until 1969. In the U.S., so that will tell you how badly he was mistreated. But he was well respected in the wrestling world, and in fact frequently fought people bigger than him, including the Greek champion Tony Landos, who was 6 inches taller than him and quite a bit bigger, who he frequently wrestled to a draw. He was also known for slamming Man Mountain Dean, who was 465 pounds. He lifted the guy over his head and slammed him so hard against the mat that the mat broke, and they both fell to the auditorium floor. Now, this might have been where WWE got their idea to break their ring, when the people got slammed off the top rope. And this was an actual thing that happened, and by accident. This was how strong this guy was. He was known as the Hebrew Hercules. He was known as Little Tarzan. He was known as Jewish Tarzan. He was a strong, big guy. When he was 80, two guys tried to mug him. He subdued both of them until cops arrived. There are 2 stories to this story. One says he subdued both of them with 2 fingers and held them there till cops arrived. Another said he just punched them both and knocked them unconscious. Which one is true, we don't know. He'd frequently get heckled by fans because he was Jewish, and they tried to start fights with him, but he didn't want to fight because he was a peaceful guy. So he'd just walk away from the fans trying to fight him. However, in a wrestling ring, he would defend his own very, very easily, frequently winning or wrestling to a draw. Though never winning a championship, though he is a member of the Wrestling Hall of Fame and the NWA Hall of Fame. He needs to be in WWE's Hall of Fame, so call WWE and tell them we want Abe Coleman in there. When he retired, because he met his wife in 1936, when he said he was literally thrown in her lap at a wrestling match. They married in 1939. She died in 1987. When he retired, he worked for New York inspecting license plates and frequently playing poker and betting on the horses. He went on to live past 1987 and became the longest known living pro wrestler of all time, dying at 101 in 2007. Just missing his 102nd birthday by about 6 months. He moved into a retirement home about 2 years before he died. That means he lived till at 99, he was still living by himself. At 98, he was still living by himself, not feeling the need to live in a retirement home till he was 99. So the man was literally a legitimate badass, and he lived forever, and pretty much was the real life Wolverine. And so I decided to make a video about him, who no one knows who he is. He wrestled over 2,000 matches in his career, and died at 101. So, and he was pretty damn strong. So this video is about Herb Coleman. Hopefully you remember his name and remember that he invented the drop kick. So we'll see you next week. But I know the wrestling video is about WWE's Tough Enough. And I know the movie is because March was also Mental Disability Awareness Month. But I didn't know that till I'd already shot all my videos for March. So we're going to do a mental disability movie in after the Easter movie called Special Needs Revolt. What it has to do with Mental Disability Awareness Month? Absolutely nothing. So see you then.